Hi everyone, happy Saturday, February 17th, 2024. Welcome to the Sports Source TV, a top channel in sports talk, sports data, sports news. This channel is surrounded around being a sports zone. I just wanted to share some of the major sports news stories coming out. Defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, Steve Wilks, was recently fired from his role after being in the role for just one season. This firing was just after 3 days after the organization's Super Bowl loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Previous to the role, Steve Wilks was the interim head coach for the Panthers, but was not brought on full time for the role at the time. 49ers head football coach Kyle Shanahan had stated that the firing was something he had to do as they had to move in a different direction. However, if we look at the stats between Steve Wilks' performance in 2023 versus DeMeco Ryans, former defensive coach of the San Francisco 49ers' performance in 2021-22, Wilks performed way better in imposing points per game, imposing yards per game, and takeaways per game. There have been clear indicators that the defense was also not the reason for the 49ers losing in the Super Bowl. Subscribe and comment below if you think this firing was the right call by the San Francisco 49ers. Also comment, what do you think 49ers head football coach Kyle Shanahan means when he wants to take this a different direction? In other sports news, Tiger Woods, an American professional golfer and widely regarded as one of the greatest golfers of all time, and is one of the greatest and most famous athletes in modern history, has withdrawn from the Genesis Invitational due to illness. Woods, prior to the withdrawal, was spotted taking a handful of restroom breaks during his 6 holes prior to his withdrawal. In addition, Woods' own admission of back spasms on Thursday hinted that this might be an issue for the golf tour. In more exciting news, Caitlyn Clark, Iowa women's college basketball star, broke the NCAA women's basketball all-time scoring record against Michigan. The reigning Naismith and Wooden Award winner is averaging 32.1 points, 7 rebounds, and 8.3 assists per game. The 6-foot senior point guard's roughly 47% field goal percentage on an average of 22 attempts per game is also a career high on top of her roughly 39% from 3. Clark holds the men's and women's record for the most games scoring at least 30 points over the past 25 years and has scored at least 40 points on several occasions. Let's talk projections. It is projected that Iowa will make deep runs in both the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament, where the Hawkeyes are projected as the number 1 seed. Clark could also opt to stay a 5th season under the COVID-19 eligibility waiver. If Clark opts to leave and enters the WNBA draft, she would likely be the number 1 overall pick to the Indiana Fever a week after the NCAA championship game is played in Cleveland. Comment below if you think Clark should opt in for another season or out and pursue the WNBA. As the 2024 Ruffles NBA All-Star Weekend is underway, Team Shannon has defeated Team Stephen A. ESPN analyst Stephen A. Smith had support from the following assistant coaches: rapper Lil Wayne and 2-time WNBA MVP Asia Wilson. ESPN analyst Shannon Sharp had an assistant coach as well, none other than rapper 50 Cent. Dallas Cowboys star pass rusher Micah Parsons won the 2024 NBA Celebrity Game MVP award, with Team Shannon winning 100-91 over Team Stephen A. in Indianapolis. Parsons dropped 37 points and 16 rebounds, which included 19 of those points in the second half. The game also featured the NBA's LED full video court, which led to several creative moments, such as a moving three-point line, specifically in the fourth quarter, and highlights throughout the contest being displayed on the floor. As always with Stephen A's riff about the Dallas Cowboys, he accused the refs of being Dallas Cowboy fans after the loss. Again, comment below if you think Stephen A is right. In sad news, Hall of Fame Maryland coach Lefty Driesell died at his home in Virginia Beach. In honor of his memory, Maryland honored Driesell with a moment of silence before their next game against number 14 Illinois. The university had the team wear throwback uniforms from the 1970s previously worn on January 21st when the Terrapins honored Driesell with an ode to Lefty. Driesell finished with 786 victories over parts of 5 decades and was the first coach to win more than 100 games at 4 NCAA Division I schools. Driesell won 5 regular season conference titles over 9 seasons at James Madison and finished a successful run at Georgia State from 1997 to 2003. Coach K stated Driesell's contributions to the game go way beyond wins and losses, and he won a lot after Driesell finally made the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018. Driesell launched the college basketball tradition known as Midnight Madness on October 15, 1971, 3 minutes after midnight on the first day of practice. As sanctioned by the NCAA, Driesell had his players take a mandatory mile run on the track inside the Maryland football stadium. When asked about it, he said, "I was just trying to get an early jump on practice. I had no idea what it was going to lead to." Comment below on the Sports Source TV YouTube video if you think Lefty was just trying to put a fast one on his players or actually wanted to get a jump early on practice. One of the newest football Hall of Famers, Steve Mongo McMichael, was admitted into intensive care Thursday for a urinary tract infection. McMichael will be undergoing a blood transfusion after developing infections. The Chicago Bears legend was named to the Hall of Fame class of 2024, along with Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Julius Peppers, Andres Johnson, Patrick Willis, and Randy Gradger. He is scheduled to be inducted in Canton August 3rd. McMichael spent the majority of his standout career in Chicago and helped lead the franchise to the Super Bowl title during the 1985 season. He was a two-time Pro Bowl selection and was named to 4 All-Pro teams. He finished his Bears career with 92.5 sacks. Comment if you think Steve's induction ceremony should be moved up earlier. In other news, Noah Lyles edges out Christian Coleman to win the national title in men's 60-meter dash today at the USA Indoor Championships in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Coleman, the world record holder in the indoor 60, finished second, posting a time of 6.44. The win was Lyles' first ever national title in the indoor 60 meters. Lyles is the first coming off of a banner 2023 season in which he captured 3 gold medals, 100 meter, 200 meters, and 4x100 meter relay at last summer's track and field world championships. The 2 American sprinters are also frontrunners to make Team USA's track and field roster for the 2024 Paris Olympics. Speaking of world victories, Team USA's Curzan sweeps women's backstroke with 200-meter win at the World Championship. This would be the 4th gold medal at the World Championships for Curzan. Curzan was in control all the way through the 200-meter backstroke final as she won by 1.26 seconds from 17-year-old Australian Caitlyn Clark. Curzan completed her set of backstroke gold medals after earlier winning the 50 and 100 plus the 4x100 mixed mid-lay relay. The former San Francisco 49ers and soon-to-be former Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo will be suspended 2 games in 2024 due to violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substance policy. Adam Schefter reported it's a medication he had a prescription for, but didn't have a valid therapeutic use exemption, basically the league knowing that he had it and it was approved for its use. After news of the suspension dropped, it's suspected that Raiders are planning to release Garoppolo before the mid-March league deadline, where his salary gets guaranteed. No reason to pay Garoppolo that money if you won't be playing. While reuniting with Josh McDaniels, his offensive coordinator, while he was with the New England Patriots, didn't exactly spark a flame like everyone thought. Garoppolo missed 2 games and still led the league in interceptions by the time McDaniels got fired. After McDaniels was let go, Garoppolo was subsequently benched. Comment if you think Jimmy should get another chance to play elsewhere and in what setting. As this NBA All-Star Weekend proceeds on this 17th of February, the Pacers have taken home the win in Indianapolis on the Skills Challenge, and Steph Curry has gone Steph-less in his win against Sabrina Ionescu in the All-Star Shootout. Damian Lillard won the 2024 Starry 3-point contest. Matt McClung won the 2024 AT&T Slam Dunk Contest. Comment below on what you think next year's 3-point contest should be. So now I kind of wanted to talk about a previous trade that was made that I kind of feel like was kind of one-sided in the NBA. And it was the Pascal Siakam trade.
Alright, so if we looked at that trade, for instance, where the Raptors traded their forward, Pascal Siakam to the Pacers. In that deal, the Raptors received Bruce Brown through the Pacers, Kira Lewis through the Pelicans, um, Tyra Lewis maybe through the Pelicans, Jordan Noir through the Pacers, two 2024 first round picks through the Pacers, conditional 2026 first round pick through the Pacers. And so the Pacers ended up just getting Pascal Siakam from the Raptors and a future second round pick from the Pelicans. And so, you know, obviously the Raptors waived Christian Coloco to make the deal and everything. So what I'm trying to say is, it just seems very, very one-sided. They did get a pick back, from the Pelicans, but a second round pick. But at the end of the day, like I just don't understand where the Pacers are going with this and the direction they're heading. This does not lead to contention. I feel like you have a great player, yes, Pascal Siakam, but does he have all the pieces around him that you're going to get to, an NBA championship? I don't think so. It doesn't look like it. And you traded a lot of pieces away, a lot of picks away personally. And I just feel like, what the Raptors got really put them closer to their goals um, compared to the Pacers, at least. Um, it just seems very, very, very weird. And one thing I'll add, because it was a three-way trade here essentially, because the Pelicans were in play as well. But adding Kira Lewis to the deal, New Orleans allowed Indiana to match Siakam's salary without including another player. That move put the Pelicans into position to get below the luxury tax threshold, essentially. So, I just don't know, how the Pacers are trying to move forward. Um, you know, 29-year-old, Pascal Siakam forward, he's averaging 22.2 points, 6.3 rebounds, 4.9 assists in about 34 to 35 minutes per game this season. So I just don't know. He was selected 27th overall by the Raptors in the 2016 draft. Shooting percentage 52.2% from the field, 75.8% from the free throw line, and 31.7% from beyond the arc. He's averaged more than 20 points in 5 of his 8 NBA seasons, while being named an All-Star twice in 2020 and 2023, and All-NBA second team in 2020. Siakam, who played a pivotal part in helping the Raptors capture the NBA title in 2019, has an expiring $37.9 million contract. Keyword there is expiring. So as a two-time NBA All-NBA selection and two-time NBA All-Star, Pascal is a player that our organization has long admired and respected. This is coming from the Pacers president of basketball operations, Kevin Pritchard. He feels that his unique offensive skill set will complement their style of play, while his defensive versatility will be a valuable asset to the team. I have no riff with that. I think he's a valuable player. I think he adds value to the organization, definitely, for the Pacers. But I am questioning how much you gave up in exchange for that, and does that value really get you any closer to where you're trying to go? Because I understand needing a key piece, and obviously, it goes well with bringing something to Indianapolis that makes people excited and whatnot. But from the long-term standpoint, it just doesn't make sense from a championship standpoint. So what are you trying to accomplish? Are you just trying to have people have players here that whether it was a Paul George or Victor Oladipo, you know, you know, and we do have Tyrese Halliburton here in Indianapolis as well. So I guess my question, really comes to like the point of what are you trying to accomplish? because players go and leave, right? And we've seen that with Victor, we've seen that with Paul George. So I'm just it's interesting to see how things are progressing in Indianapolis for the Pacers organization. Um, with that said, Brown, he joins the Raptors front court, where he'll likely start to be alongside other recent additions like R.J. Barrett, which was recently acquired through a trade via the Knicks. There appeared in 18 games for the Pacers this season. He averaged about 5 points per game and 1.8 rebounds per game in a reserve role, while Lewis was 2.9 points per game and 1.2 rebounds per game. You're just kind of adding support to their bench for the Raptors. You could see, they have some pieces there, but they also have a lot of picks. So they're really playing it both ways. So I could see from the Raptors then that they're getting some value in multiple directions um, throughout this trade, right? Per Woj, I think the 2024 picks Toronto receives includes Indiana's own as well as the worst of Utah's, Houston's, Oklahoma City's, and LA Clippers. And then the 2026 pick sent to the Raptors will be the Pacers pick, but is protected from number 1 through 4. In the Barrett trade, the Raptors received the 2024 second round pick through Detroit, added to the cachet of draft assets they got. So, it just, I don't know what they're trying to get at, with this, and from the Pacers end at least, because there's so much going on with Toronto right now, in terms of resources and tools and things that can get them building momentum pretty quickly, if they want to make certain decisions. Um, but I'm not sure about this Siakam trade. I do understand that they're pairing him with the All-Star guard Tyrese Halliburton. I do understand that those are valuable pieces to have, but for championship contention, I think you need more, and you kind of gave away a lot there just to get Siakam to pair with Halliburton. So it's going to be interesting going forward, um, what the Pacers are trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. Um, you know, I think when we think about rebuilding, Toronto, because they did give up Kyle Lowry way back. It just seems like they're picking up a lot of in terms of picks, similar to what Oklahoma City has done. And I think they're in huge rebuilding modes, and they do have the pieces to get them to build out their team. Um, so I could see from their standpoint, from their vantage point, that what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish, right? But for an organization like the Pacers, who just haven't, year after year, been successful, I don't know. They always build good teams, and then it's like every couple of years, they flip and go back to rebuilding mode, and you never really see um, those teams get extended or more value added on top to get them to be the ideal team to go win out and win for a championship, right? So it's just interesting to see where we'll go from there. It, I just don't see it. I personally think that the Pacers and like a team like the Lakers, you know they're running out of things that other teams would want for consideration, because you're not going to give up a LeBron, you're just not going to give up Tyrese Halliburton, right? You just got Siakam and for the Pacers, right? So it just doesn't, what other pieces that can you give away, and the Lakers, for them, I don't think they're going to give up Anthony Davis either. So it's interesting. because you want to build around certain players, and as you make these trades, and you're ultimately trying to build a team, and how much time a player has with those players around them to build up those relationships to then get them to where they need to go to deliver a championship. I mean that takes a lot of time and energy and commitment from the players to the players that surround them, right? So and obviously your coaches and things like that as well, and your supporting cast and everybody. So I just don't know that I just don't see what the Pacers are doing. There was a recent trade, potential trade that was going to take place between Golden State and the Lakers, involving LeBron, and LeBron shut that idea down. And I could see why, because I mean he's gonna have to make a decision at some point, LeBron James, and I don't think he wants to make that decision right now. Just given where things are landing with how he's looking at things. Um, but that could have easily been a championship team if LeBron had left and went to Golden State. And they somehow kept Steph Curry on that team. I mean, I just don't think that other teams would be able to compete to that. Um, but I think LeBron is really looking long term in terms of what he wants to do for his future. Um, and as his kid also enters the league eventually, right? So I think he said he wanted to play with his kid, and so that would be one of those things that he has on his goals to accomplish. So whether he considers that more than winning championships with a championship team like the Golden State Warriors, I don't know. Um, but I think he is in the back of his mind always considering things like this. Um, but I think he's content for now, and obviously he's going to see what transpires with the Lakers. Uh, other things that are going on in the league. The New York Knicks. Um, with the acquisitions they've had, it's been interesting to see Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby. He's just, you know, I don't, I don't know what to say. I mean, the NBA trades that take place with the Knicks have been all positive, I think, for the most part. Um, Curzan, Alec Burks for the Pistons in exchange for Evan Fournier and Quentin Grimes, Malika Flynn and Ryan Aberrod, and 2 second-round picks Thursday. Um, that was pretty huge about a week ago, I would say. So last Thursday. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, I think they're building their team up pretty strongly. They're making the right deals, the right trades, and they're also picking up things that in exchange for this. When you think about the picks that they have, and they still have the opportunity to get some very MVP type player out there. Um, Even with the team that they've built out, you could see their their plan coming along pretty good up to this point. Um, and they're a team that can is competitive as we can kind of seen this season. Not going to say that they're you know you know championship pedigree at this point, but above 500, they're doing very well. And you'll have all the right pieces, and they're making all the right moves. So it's interesting to see how teams are kind of learning from their mistakes. I would say in that regard. So phenomenal job on the Knicks organization side. And Pistons, they got some interesting players. Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes. Those are pretty decent players. And second round picks. That's going to help them in the long run too. So I think that trade between the Knicks and the Pistons last week was pretty good. But it's just interesting to see where things are gonna land. You know, the draft is coming up, so it'll be kind of valuable to see what was missed, what wasn't missed, and what where we could potentially make moves across organizations. I thought the whole situation between Milwaukee and letting go of their coach, just interesting, in my opinion. Right before the All Star game, All Star weekend, um, and picking up Doc Rivers and just seeing that kind of unfold. It's not to say that there's any gripe between having a championship coach. Doc Rivers has proven himself in the past. He's got multiple opportunities to pursue since then. But I don't think, losing the prior head coach who had a pretty decent record and given enough experience, probably could have led that team to more success. Um, I think, you know, having some sort of gripe with, um, you know, your MVP or All-Star type players in an organization pushed that coach out, and it's pretty sad to hear um, because they just won a championship a couple years back. Um, so if they wanted to really excel, really shine bright this year, and try to pursue the same thing they did in that season where they won that championship, um, they would get over that hump and have just stuck with their coach and kind of listen to him more to lead them to success, right? Because I think he was pointing to things that are still not resolved. Even having Doc Rivers there to present now, right? Like, and you get Doc Rivers hasn't been there long, but it just seems like their win to loss ratio is not looking good. So it's interesting. I, I I don't know if Doc Rivers is gonna have any potential success in getting over that hump. Not only with the All Star players on their organization, but you know all the players on their organization understanding do they still have that willingness to pursue a championship, or have they lost their value and their beliefs, and um, is the talent just not there anymore? And they might have to consider trading trading assets to get where they need to go. Um, but having Damian Lillard there in that organization, that Bucks organization, should have been a plus. I think in a lot of people's minds that should have been a plus. And it's interesting to see that combination between Giannis and Damian Lillard is just not right, not working the way it should be working. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if they make any pursuits outside um, what they've currently done to get themselves over this hurdle that they're having. But yeah, I think that covers a lot in the NBA world. The other item I did want to talk about was just trying to understand what's going on in the league. Um, Again, the NBA with Dwight Howard, DeMarcus Cousins. Just not understanding. Why aren't these players getting picked up? Um, why are they having to go to leagues outside of the U.S. To pursue opportunities? Dwight Howard is you know, a diminished version of what he was when he was with the Orlando Magic. Yes, but he delivered a championship with the Lakers, right? And you know, when you look about what the Lakers are needing right now and what limitations are imposed upon them and what players they have and what players have played with Dwight Howard that are in the current roster, right? I just don't understand, how defensively he can not be an opportunity to pursue. If there's something, from a compensation standpoint that's, driving the wedge, I kind of understand that, but like, at the same time, it just doesn't make sense for veteran minimum, to have him on the Lakers organization to, you know, have similar players from back when they won the championship to now still competing for a championship, right? Um, it just it's mind blowing to me that they don't pursue that. With DeMarcus Cousins, it's the same thing. You have all these teams in the league, in the NBA, and none of them are actually pursuing DeMarcus Cousins. Like, it's a veteran minimum. The guy can play defensively. Like an organization like the Phoenix Suns, and I know that they're strapped with the limitations imposed. Given the new rules. Um, but with at CBA and such, I don't understand why they wouldn't still try to pursue that, create an opportunity for that. DeMarcus Cousins with because I think what's happening right now is they're plagued with injuries, right? You've seen that, but the other piece to that is so you need a resource there that you can play with night in, night out, as a backup or however you want to look at it. But beyond that, you're leaning on, your players that are offensive weapons like a Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, two-way players essentially, right? And Bradley Beal would be considered a two-way player, if he was actually healthy, right? Um, you know, but because they're played with injuries and you're leaning on two, at least 1 to 2 players night in, night out, given all three of them cannot always be on the floor. um, it just makes it interesting to know and see what's going to go on with that organization. Um, if you could, if you could bring in DeMarcus Cousins, that could anchor the defense, and give give some sort of relief to Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. That means less minutes spent on the defensive end, having to be 24/7 alert. Give them rest, giving them opportunities to then play more aggressively on the offensive end. Again, it's not to say they're not going to be two-way players still, right? But you're creating more of a drift, so that it allows for more opportunity. And I think that's key and that's vital to kind of saying where that organization's going to go in the future, right? And given that they're limited on what they can do, with that organization, it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion, right? They have a lot of great players and whatnot. It's not to say that, but they don't have a bench. Let's just say what it is. They don't have a bench. And so when you can get a veteran minimum, you should kind of be pursuing those, right? Even though it's not the ideal opportunities you're probably looking for, you're probably looking for um, some some assets that are much younger and um, can stay at a pace with with the team's organization and whatnot. But it is what it is at this point. I don't understand why those types of players would be going to other leagues. Essentially, this if you look at the WNBA, for example, you see these players. It's just because of compensation, right? They're not making as nearly as much as the NBA. and so they need to create, a second opportunity for themselves, and that results in them moving to wherever to join wherever league in the off season, to pursue those, right. This is kind of different, these players, they're still valuable assets to the league. I mean, these players are huge. They're bigs, right? I mean, we're not talking about um, you know players that are playing point or a guard position essentially, right? Um, we're talking about bigs, and so you think about the different teams on out there and their limitations on the defensive end, night in night out. I think that kind of is an opportunity for the league. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So I also wanted to kind of go over another topic that came around, specifically, an article that came out um, roughly this week, around name, image, and likeness, and compared to what the G League Ignite offers, and the existence of the G League Ignite, and specifically hearing from Adam Silver, and just trying to understand, what they're trying to do with the G League Ignite going forward now that players are getting paid, due to name, image, and likeness. Well, before having to enter the league, all right, and just hearing Adam Silver's talk on this was interesting, because you just generally wanted to know like what was the main goal with the G League Ignite to begin with, and understanding what could be done to facilitate change, right, in the right way. And so the conversation, it sounds like, is that pursuing they're starting to see that as less less value, I guess you could say, and having the G League Ignite now that we have name, image, and likeness and all this. But in reality, I think the conversation should really shift from not having, saying it should be non-existent, having another league like that, and really looking at other opportunities to pursue. You have a lot of great players that have retired, and you think about creating economic opportunity and bridging the gap and building, a supporting culture, supporting league, um, and it's not to say that it's going to outshine what the NBA offers, the NBA league offers, but I think it still creates opportunity, however you look at it. And I think with having players like a Dwayne Wade, a Carmelo Anthony, I see that you could kind of bridge the gap and create an economic opportunity, given you've built out players in a league that have been super successful and have a wealth of knowledge and are extremely savvy, and they have a high basketball IQ, and you can bridge that gap, with youth. So I don't think that the conversation should just be we should no longer have the G League Ignite. I think the conversation should be is we need to change and shift the focus of what that league should look like going forward. Because as players want to pursue the NBA and things of that nature, the G League Ignite was one way to go through, and make it to the league, right? And I think you'd be missing out on opportunity if a player didn't perform at a high level and wasn't so high up on the draft class, um, for whatever reason, and due to their economic conditions, due to their standard of living and whatnot. due to the folks around them. But if they got an opportunity to be in a league like the G League Ignite, you could really change and shift the culture around them to make them, to enable them to be the best um, that they can be. And from there, then they could have an opportunity and a shot to be back in the NBA. So I think that, and that comes with guidance, right? That doesn't just come with, having a league out there, a separate league altogether, with, run by different coaches and things like that, or people that or players that are, you know, not of quality to the NBA anymore, and are, where do we put them, to kind of see if they can continue to develop, whatnot. Let's put them to the G League Ignite. I think it has multiple purposes. To say that it was a league, designed for essentially to compensate players prior to entering the league, the NBA league. You know, I think that's one way to look at it, but you're kind of missing out on opportunities that on all the other fronts that it has been extremely helpful with. And I think the focus needs to be shifted more to that, if anything. I think having a Dwight Howard or Carmelo Anthony, or, players that have competed at a high level, maybe enter that league even, to compete, to build the second league up, will always kind of drive traffic to essentially that second league to make it more popular as a sport, and and it's gonna gain traction, I think, in that regard. Just opening doors in other areas that weren't originally considered. Because you're continuing to make the sport competitive. Having seasoned veterans makes the sport competitive, and having them actually play out there and compete day in and day out, is going to make the sport competitive, especially with the youth that come out of college, or are looking for an opportunity, outside of the NBA to shine, prior to entering the league. I think that's fundamental. There's certain things that you're not going to pick up in college that you might have to pick up in a league like this, to then transition to the NBA, right? If that's the end goal, right? But this second league should also be a league in itself, um, um, independent of the NBA, and creating an opportunity, um, for so many others, to pursue their dream, right? You don't want to limit the number of dreams out there, right? Limit the number of opportunities out there. So I think name, image, and likeness is great, but should not be a replacement for the G League Ignite. And we could change that league name to whatever it needs to be, but I think there should be a second league at the very least, and creating the opportunity, and surveying the people around, and understanding what their needs and wants are, from high school to college to seasoned veterans, to those in the league, to those that have been in the league, to those in the NBA, to those who are playing overseas, even, right? Because you want to make the game competitive, right? And so what's going to bring those talents to a second league like this, should be the focus, right? And that'll gain traction, and it'll be something that is marketable, and then you guys can look at that, and create economic opportunity from that. So I think that's the direction that I would think that the league should take on this. But I did want to share what Adam Silver had to say about this, because it was kind of interesting to hear from him, and I generally normally agree with what he has to say, majority of the time, but it was just interesting to hear what he had to say in this particular case. Let me see if I can pull that article up here. So he said, I think given that here we go. Let's see. So NBA Commissioner Adam Silver told reporters ahead of the All-Star Skills competition at Lucas Oil that the league intends to reevaluate the G League Ignite following the introduction of name, image, and likeness into college basketball. Um, and he went on to say that, let's see, I think given that that's happened, I think we are in the process of recessing Team Ignite, but now some of those same players who didn't want to be one and done players because they felt it was unfair and wanted the ability to not just earn a living playing basketball, but to do commercial deals that weren't available to them at college, to hire professional agents, an opportunity that wasn't available to them at college. They now, all of those same opportunities have become available to them. I'm not sure what the future of Team Ignite will be, but because before there was a hole in the marketplace that we thought we were filling before doing that. And now my focus is turning to earlier development for those players, of those players. And so, you can kind of hear it from NBA Commissioner Adam Silver on that. And, the intent, here was that, the NBA launched the Ignite in 2020 as a development program for potential draft prospects to be paid to play basketball. At that point in time, college athletes weren't being paid and joining the Ignite, which was considered an attractive option to draft eligible prospects because of the compensation we offered. So again, you're looking at a specific group of people. You're not looking at overseas talent. You're not looking at those that are experienced veterans and how they can play a role. So I think creating a second league is still valuable. But I think the focus has to shift from what Adam Silver was stating there early on. So and this isn't to say that the Ignite wasn't successful in some regards. Like the Ignite developed several high-profile draftees over the last several years, including Scoot Henderson, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Green. Henderson went number 3 to the Portland Trailblazers in 2023. Daniels went number 8 in 2022 to the Pelicans, and Green went number 2 in 2021 to the Houston Rockets. So college athletes are not currently paid by their respective programs, but they can sign NIL deals with companies in exchange for significant compensation. So in reality, they're not getting paid to play basketball necessarily. They're getting paid for promoting, for marketing, being able to be someone that can market products and services and things of that nature. So it's just interesting, like for instance, USC freshman Bronny James, son of LA Lakers star LeBron James, has an NIL valuation of 5.8 million. Yeah, I understand it's a big number, but that doesn't mean that he's getting paid necessarily for competing, playing, and so it's a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but I think that you would want to still pursue what you originally came out to pursue, which is to compete and to play the game that you love, right? So, Bronny is among the 2024 draft eligible prospects, though it's unclear if he intends to declare for the draft or spend another season at USC. Aside from playing in college or for the Ignite, a number of NBA's top prospects come from overseas. So, for example, like Frenchman and San Antonio Spurs rookie Victor Wembanyama, who went number 1 overall in the 2023 draft, and he developed in France's LMB Pro A. That's kind of a gripe that I would think that Adam Silver would be looking at and saying, hey, why aren't they being developed here? Why are we not competitive enough compared to what France is doing, maybe, and how does that impact the draft and things of that nature. And so, creating those opportunities are still valuable is the point I'm trying to get at. And I think it should definitely be reassessed. That's for sure. Um, and I think Perth Wildcats forward Alexandra Sar, Jailburn Breast forward Zachary Rachar, and KK Caravana Savada point guard Nikolai Topik being selected in the top three of the latest 2024 mock draft. Is an example of that, similar to Victor Wembanyama, right? So, it's just something that we should see. And I think the other thing is performance of the league, right? Um, the Ignite have gone like 6-31, I think, this season, and boast the worst offensive rating and net rating in the league. So it's just it, it's not going to be attractive if you're not building again the competition and the drive and the motivation for players, right? There's definitely a lot of work. That's what that tells me, is there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and how you go about making the game more competitive and uh, more motivational to players, and building out that league as a second league, essentially, I would say, goes a long way. So, yep. Now with college athletes now being able to get an education, get paid, prospects overseas being eligible for compensation, um, I guess you could say that hinders why the league is where it's at. But I think that just means that there's more time. More time needs to be spent on reassessing the league and making sure that the league is really to what everyone's expectations should be of the league, right? Um, so yeah, I just wanted to give my input on that and go from there.
In the hockey world, Megan Augusta, who won 3 gold medals representing Canada at the Olympics, announced Friday she's retiring from hockey. Augusta, 37, played for more than 1.5 decades, also winning 2 International Ice Hockey Federation World Championship gold medals and 1 Olympic silver. She was voted MVP on home ice at the 2010 Vancouver Games. She stated that it's been an honor to represent Canada, to wear the red and white with pride, and inspire the next generation of athletes. In 88 games wearing Canada's maple leaf in international play, Augusta recorded 94 points on 47 goals and 47 assists. She also spent 2 seasons with Montreal in the Canadian Women's Hockey League, and previously starred at Mercyhurst University in Erie, Pennsylvania. Augusta is now a full-time constable with the Vancouver Police Department after taking a break from hockey several years ago to pursue a career in law enforcement. She balanced both the 2015 through 2018 Olympics. Megan was an invaluable asset to Team Canada on the international stage, said Canada Senior Manager of Scouting and Player Development, Sherry Piper. She stated she used her dynamic skill set to leave an indelible mark on the hockey world, and we wish her continued success in her career with the Vancouver Police Department. Also, in the world of hockey, Jeremy Jagger practiced with the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday, the day before they will send his number 68 to the rafters of PPG Paints Arena. It was the first time the Jagger, who was turned 52 on Thursday, practiced with the Penguins since being traded to the Washington Capitals on July 11th, 2001. The former NHL forward took drills with centers Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and defenseman Chris Letang. The current core in Pittsburgh. Crosby mentioned just fun, whose locker stall was next to one of Jagger's. And it's pretty special, I think, for all of us to be part of the weekend and to have an opportunity like this today. I think we're trying to enjoy it and trying to make it the best experience for him too, stated Crosby. Jagger will have his number 68 retired before the Penguins host the Los Angeles Kings on Sunday, joining Mario Lemieux and Michel Barrere. In 11 seasons with Pittsburgh, Jagger had 1,079 points, 439 goals, 640 assists, and 806 games, the fourth most in franchise history behind Mario Lemieux, Crosby, and Malkin. He helped the Penguins win the Stanley Cup in 91 and 92. And so Crosby stated that it's well deserved. He's done so much for the team, for the city, the organization. We just hope that it's the best celebration for him. And Jagger, was celebrated Friday during a dinner event on Pittsburgh's North Shore, where he discussed his excitement and apprehension for Sunday. I also wanted to kind of talk about NIL with respect to soccer. U.S. soccer phenom McKenna Mac Whitman, at the age of 13, one of the youngest to do it, inked a Nike NIL deal, so name, image, and likeness deal, and became one of the youngest women's soccer player and youngest athletes in any sport to sign a NIL deal with Nike. Whitman told ESPN that it means everything to her. Super excited to be part of the Nike family. They've done so many great things. Motivated even harder now. Motivates her even harder now. And not every kid gets to sign with Nike. And so Whitman joins an elite group of Nike NIL athletes that includes USC women's soccer player Simone Jackson, basketball players Bronny James, Juju Watkins, Iowa point guard Caitlyn Clark. The forward, who is homeschooled, will graduate with the class of 2028. Whitman plays for the Southern California club team Slammers FC HB Cog, and is coach and is a member of the U.S. under 15 youth national team. She made a name for herself at the club and national level by her ability to score with either foot outside the 18-yard box, and professional teams in addition to brands like Nike took notice. Whitman joined numerous national women's soccer leagues teams, including Kansas City, Current, Washington Spirit, New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC, for preseason workouts and trainings. She mentioned it's extremely humbling, but at the same time, it's a little bit of validation that when you have a goal in mind and if you work hard enough, you can get there, and it validates it all. Stated by Witham's father, Josh, who told ESPN about his daughters practicing with NWSL teams and signing with Nike. Just interesting, where NIL is going across multiple sports. And comment below if you guys think this creates opportunities, but also risks for younger generations, and what risks do they pose, and what can be done to improve upon deals made like this, like for NIL deals and opportunities extended at such a young age to athletes.
Just want to also give you guys an opportunity to comment below on anything I've stated in this video. Anything from NIL deals to, creating a second league to conversations around, All-Star Weekend and where things should go for next year's All-Star Weekend, skills challenge, 3-point contest, competition between the NBA versus the WNBA, players overseas, and what opportunities we can do here in the U.S. To drive players to continue to pursue opportunities here, and just all the other various stories I've covered today. If you could, please subscribe to the channel. This is a sports channel. It's something I want to continue to take great pride in. and build out. Definitely try to stay up to date with current topics and things of that nature. But I also want to make sure that it's giving you guys valuable content, content you guys can talk about and kind of give your guys' take on, perspective on, and obviously generate ideas to further build conversations around. And so I really, really do value the comments that you guys will be providing, and your feedback. And so this channel is really supposed to be to keep you guys current on what's going on in the various sports realm of things, and also give you guys a perspective to look at on my end at least, as well as what's going on and how various organizations are looking at things and kind of evaluating things. But yeah, I just wanted to give my take on that, and um, please subscribe when you guys get a chance. Um, thank you for listening in.